What's going on? What's going on? It's your man Diamond K in here. Of course, the Diamond K Show on firebroadcasting.com, the diamondkshow.com. Of course, on YouTube, DJ Diamond K. So definitely, before we get anything out the way, let's say happy Veterans Day to all those that have served our country. This is this is always a remembrance day for folks that are in the military. And, the Veterans Day holiday began more than 100 years ago. And it's been called different things, but it was a celebration of the end of World War One. Now, over time, its name and purpose has evolved into a day of recognition for U.S. veterans of all wars, as well as those currently serving in uniform. So definitely got to say happy Veterans Day because, folks don't have to do what they do, you know what I mean? But they do it because they love the country. And a lot of folks will say, like, what is the most, I guess, appropriate thing is thank you for your service. So that is the most appropriate thing to say. Thank you for your service. But I mean, if you're looking for some alternative thing to say, you could say thank you for putting your life on hold to serve our country. Thank you for your sacrifices that you made being away from your family, et cetera, et cetera. So you can always say things like that. And Veterans Day obviously comes same time every year. And a time like now, it is even more, it really weighs on me even more than normal. So a lot of things that we got to get out the way, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things that I have on begin. Trump is going to mobilize government agencies to help deport a record number of immigrants. This is something that he's promised to do, and something that is going to affect a lot of that think that what Trump wants to do with regards to the deportation is not going to affect them. They think that I don't know why. They think that they're special. They think that they're special. Well, President-elect Donald Trump announced yesterday that he's going to appoint the former acting head of ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Tom Homan, as his border czar. Now, this is we don't actually have border czars, but that's what he's calling, right? So he's bringing back this key figure who oversaw things during his first administration, the controversial family separation policy. So he's coming back, and on Truth Social, Trump called Homan a stalwart on border control. Said that he will be joining the Trump administration in charge of our nation's border. Called him the border czar. Now, in his role, Homan will oversee the southern border, the northern border. Of course, they never really talk about the northern border. They act like we don't even have a northern border. All of the focus is on the southern border. But he additionally said that maritime and aviation security is all going to fall under Homan. And so Trump hailed him, saying that there's nobody better at policing and controlling the borders. And he added that he would be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. So that's going to happen. And unlike cabinet appointments, Trump's border czar pick will not have to go through a Senate confirmation process. So he's going to pretty much be in that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Project 2025. Trump doesn't know anything about Project 2025. That they say Project 25. Well, 2025. What is that? Homan also served as a contributor to Project 2025, and of course, if you have a bad memory and you don't know what Project 2025 is, it is the controversial hard right blueprint for the next conservative White House administration, which the Trump administration has tried to distance itself from, but is appointing folks that contributed to this. Now, I mean, to the winner goes the spoils, right? They won. Okay, so they're going to be rolling some things out. And, I've said this many times before. Democrats are weak. They have been weak. Hopefully, they will gain some strength in this loss, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to gain strength in this loss or not. We will see. But it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And for all of those folks that voted for Trump, for the other folks, the millions of folks that stayed home that voted for Biden but did not come out and vote at all for Kamala, your inaction was actually an action. So you helped contribute to this. If you did not participate in the process, you stayed home, because I wasn't motivated like this is American Idol or something, right? Like, I wasn't motivated. And it is a lot. So let's see. Okay, so we got some Trump supporters here. Okay, that's what's up. All right, so we got that. Now, in an interview with Fox News yesterday, Homan defended Trump's mass deportation plans. Of course, what else is he going to do, right? Defended those plans, says that it's going to be a well-targeted, planned operation conducted, led by the men and women of ICE. Okay, that's fine. Here's the thing about this. I don't have any problem. Whatever they're going to do, that's what it's going to be. But understand this. We could talk about history because history always repeats itself. You go back to any president, right? We go to Johnson. He was elected with I would say a very wide margin. Within 4 years, he ain't want nothing else to do with it, and things have plummeted. Nixon elected in 1972. It was a wipeout. Within 2 years, he had resigned, and everything had gone south, right? So just because you win just because you win the battle doesn't mean that you're going to win the war. George Bush, the first one, won the Iraq War, but things went south for him very quickly, which is how we got Bill Clinton. You go to his son, George W. Bush, was riding high, and then we got Barack Obama. So my point is that Trump's first term, and then folks were so turned off that we got Joe Biden. And now we have Trump again. And if history is any indicator, the Republicans are going to push things too far, and there's going to be a Democratic rebound. Now, whether the Democrats are in a position to capitalize on the rebound, that remains to be seen, and it's a long time. But I see Midlife Bro Logic, who says, "Oh, of course, things are good. Things go to Republican, never go back." You got a short memory, but y'all won. Bravo, you know what I mean? And I think that it's really good. It looks like Republicans are going to win the House. It looks like they're going to have all of the branches of government in their control, and I think that that's fine. Do what you want to do, screw things up, and when Americans have had enough of your foolishness, then they're going to come back, and the pendulum's going to swing the other way. So enjoy your fun. I hope that I hope that's all that you want it to be. And folks that contributed to this MAGA madness, folks who voted for Trump or folks who sat home, regardless of why, folks who sat home, this is what you wanted. So that's fine. So Holman is saying that this mass deportation is going to be a well-targeted plan, and this operation is going to be conducted and led by the men and women of ICE. They said that when we go out there, we'll know who we're looking for and most probably where they're going to be, and this will be done in a humane manner. We'll see. I honestly don't care. At this point, I don't want any. I don't even want to hear it because I'm not. You're not gonna have there's not gonna be no tears from me at all. However it is, that's what it's going to be. I don't want any of the illegal immigrants to think that y'all are special, or family members of illegal immigrants. Don't think that you're special just because you voted for Trump. They're gonna send you and your family all whatever. It is what it is. I don't even want to hear about it. Right? I don't even want to hear about it. Holman also suggested, and this is interesting, that the military would be used for searches and claimed that ICE has the highest detention standards in the industry. These people will be well taken care of. That's laughable. That is laughable. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And so Midlife Bro Logic says Trump is good for you too. Talking about me, that's an exclamation point. So he's saying Trump is good for me. How is Trump? Well, is Trump going to be good because Democrats are going to come in office next? I don't know. Okay. And so Clean Cars Only, who is so active on Instagram and says the funniest things, says that Kamala did not care, bro. That's why she lost. Even if Kamala didn't care, are we saying that Trump cares? If Kamala didn't care, then Trump doesn't give up. You know what? All right, Trump doesn't give a duck. If Kamala didn't care, then Trump is below that. What's below Kamala didn't care. Whatever that is, that's where Trump is. Now, Holman is considered one of the key architects in the controversial zero tolerance family separation policy that happened during the first Trump administration. So we all remember that. Now, according to a 2022 report by The Atlantic, Holman was one of the first government officials to pitch the idea of prosecuting undocumented migrants who cross the border illegally with their children and separating them. The plan was rejected at first for being heartless and impractical, but later adopted during Trump's first term, which resulted in at least 5,000 families being separated. Now, some folks will say, we got to get to the real reason why these folks came in the first place, and they think that that's the way. Understand this. Immigration has been an issue for many presidents. It's been issues for presidents before Biden, before Trump, before Obama, before Bush. This has been an issue, and it's been a building issue, and no one has been able to get it under control. So I don't want to hear folks that say Biden was the one that caused it all. This has been an ongoing thing, and they've kicked the can down the road. Politicians have kicked the can down the road for years and years and years. And so that's what that is, right? Now, speaking at the National Conservatism Conference in July, Holman said that if Trump returned to office, I'll be on his heels coming back, and I will run the biggest deportation force this country has ever seen. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till 2025. It's going to cost a lot of money to do this, and they are trying to, millions and millions and millions and millions. So we'll see. I thought this was interesting. During an interview with CBS last month, he said that I don't know of any formal policy where they're talking about family separations, but added that it needs to be considered. Absolutely. When asked about carrying out mass deportations without separating families, the former acting ICE chief said, of course there is. Families can be deported together. So he said, we're not going to separate the families. All of them can go. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. Of course, I think that a lot of folks are nervous. There's no time for buyer's remorse, though. This is going to be a very, very painful thing for a lot of folks in this country. It's going to be painful for a lot of folks. So that is something that we have to look forward to, amongst other things. We have that amongst other things to look forward to. So what does this really mean? What does it mean? Donald Trump is expected to mobilize agencies across the United States, the government agencies, to help him deport a record number of immigrants, building on the efforts in his first term to tap all available resources and pressure the so-called sanctuary jurisdictions to cooperate. That is where this is going to go. And like I said, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. Now, frustrated Americans who voted for Donald Trump, they're waiting. They're waiting for this economic change that he promised. The economic change that Donald Trump promised. Where and when is it going to happen? Now, a lot of Americans who voted for him. Now, he's not even in office yet, so you chill. But folks are, fed up with high prices. They're unimpressed with this economy, right? That is the so-called envy of the world. And by all measures is a healthy one. Americans demand change when they voted for a president. Okay, you want to change. And ironically, you are going to get that change. Well, they could get it. Now, President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to topple many of Joe Biden's economic policies. Trump campaigned, if you remember, on promises to impose huge tariffs on foreign goods, slash taxes on individuals and businesses, and deport millions of undocumented immigrants working in the United States. Now, with their votes, tens of millions of Americans expressed their confidence that Donald Trump is the one who could restore low prices and economic stability that they recall from his first term, at least until COVID-19 wiped away what President Obama passed on. But anyway, so 2020 paralyzed the economy. We all remember that. Then a powerful recovery sent inflation soaring. Inflation has since plummeted and is nearly back to normal, yet Americans are still frustrated at the high prices that are still there. So since Election Day, we've seen the Dow Jones Industrial Average skyrocket more than 1,700 points, largely on the expectation that tax cuts are coming and the loosening of regulations will accelerate economic growth and swell corporate profits. Now, that's the point. Corporate profits, the ones who are going to benefit the most are corporate profits. The major companies. There will be a lot of. Now, is that going to, Republicans always want this thing called a trickle-down economics, right? The people high up make more money and they're supposed to pass the money down. It never works that way, but Republicans have always talked about that. Many economists warn that Trump's plans are likely going to worsen the inflation that he has vowed to eradicate. They have warned that it's going to drive up the federal debt and eventually it's going to slow growth. So if and when this happens, they're going to find a way to blame somebody else. They're never going to blame Donald Trump, right? But we're going to see. We're going to see. Now, Trump's policies are more than likely going to boost inflation. Boost inflation. So the Peterson Institute for International Economics, which is a leading think tank, has estimated that Trump's policies would slash the U.S. gross domestic product, the total output of goods and services, by between 1.5 trillion and 6.4 trillion through 2028. So Peterson also estimated that Trump's proposals would drive prices sharply higher within 2 years. Inflation, which would otherwise come in at 1.5% in 2026, would instead jump to between 6% and 9.3% if Trump's policies were enacted in full. So that's a lot. That's a lot. But if we were to break that down, it's saying that prices are going to go up if the things that Trump wants to do are fully implemented. So Scott Briggs on YouTube says, how can you even pay for deporting millions of people per year? And what if the countries reject them? I think that that's an excellent point. Keep that on the screen. Okay, so Scott Bridges on YouTube, let's repeat this again, says, how can you even pay for deporting millions of Americans, millions of people per year? And what if the countries reject them? So I think that how that's going to be taxpayer money. That was an easy one. What if the countries reject them? I don't think that America's going to care under Trump. I mean, meaning they're going to drop them off, and that's just what it's going to be. I don't think that they're going to worry if folks countries reject them. And I think that obviously there's going to be some communication with the country of origin, or the country that they say is the country of origin, and people are going to get hurt. We're talking about the migrants. They're going to be the ones that's going to be hurt. It's not going to be anybody else. But it's going to be a very, very interesting thing. It's going to be interesting. Trump, of course, is inheriting an economy that, despite the frustratingly high prices, looks fundamentally strong. Growth came in at about 2.8% annual rate from July through September. Unemployment is at 4.1%, which is quite low by historic standards. Among wealthy countries, only Spain will experience faster growth this year. However, you know what they're saying? The United States is the envy of the world. The Federal Reserve is so confident that inflation is slowing towards its 2% target that it cut its benchmark rate in September and again this week. Now, here's what's going to happen. Things are going to continue on this trajectory. Trump's going to take office, and they're going to say that Donald Trump made everything better. This is going to be initially in the beginning. But that's because of the way things are right now. So they're going to give Donald Trump credit for the economy that we have right now. And then when he implements his policies and things change, who knows? Who knows what Americans are going to do at that point? But Americans are deeply unhappy with prices. Deeply. And I understand that. Voters took their frustrations to the polls, and 3 out of 10 voters said that their family was falling behind financially, up from 2 out of 10 in 2020. About 9 in 10 voters were at least somewhat worried about the cost of groceries. 8 in 10 worried about the cost of healthcare, housing, and gas. What's up, Bree? So I don't think that it's deep or complicated that a lot of folks are worried about the economy. Definitely. On YouTube, djdiamondk, of course, on TikTok. Shout out to folks that are streaming us now on TikTok at the Diamond K Show. Of course, on Instagram, on Apple Music, and Spotify. So it's very ironic that mainstream economists fear Trump's remedies will make prices even worse, not better. But folks are still on this path, and obviously you can't get off the path. So what's going to make it worse? Tariffs. Tariffs are a tax on consumers. Not sure why that's hard for folks to get through their mind. The centerpiece of Trump's economic agenda is taxing imports, putting a tax on things that come in the country. Now, it's an approach that he asserts will shrink America's trade deficit and force other countries to grant concessions to the United States. That's what he says that's going to happen. Now, in his first term, he increased tariffs on Chinese goods, and now he's promised much more of the same. Trump wants to raise tariffs on Chinese goods to 60% and impose a universal tax of 10% or 20% on all other imports. Why don't people understand that is going to raise the prices that we see on our shelves? Why is that hard for folks to understand? Trump wants to put a tariff, meaning he wants to charge additional money on Chinese imports. I don't know if y'all paid attention, but most of the things that are on the shelf are made in China. If Trump charges Chinese imports a tariff, then they're going to raise the price of the good when it hits our shelf. Why don't folks understand that? It's easy math. It's easy math, right? This camera made in, okay, where's this camera? Let's look at where this camera was made, all right? This camera, if you can see this, made in China. This is one of our streaming cameras, made in China. If they charge the Chinese more money to import this camera, by the time it's in the store and I want to buy it, it's going to cost more. The tariff that they had to pay to import it is going to be reflected in the price of the camera. So it's going to make the camera price go up. Now, some folks are saying, okay, that's fine. The price of the Chinese camera goes up, so you don't buy the Chinese camera. You have other cameras to buy, right? But most of the items on the shelf are from China. So in order for this to work, we have to already have domestic goods on the shelf. So when we impose the tariff that's going to increase the price of the Chinese good, we have other options on the shelf. But that's not the way it is, right? This is not, they didn't think this thing all the way through. So we need to have other items that you can say, oh, that camera, that Chinese good price too high. I'm going to buy something else. But if there's not anything else to buy, and most of the things are Chinese goods and every price is high, prices are going to go up. Prices are going to go up. And what's very interesting is that many of these large corporations who supported Trump get their goods made in China. It's really it's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. The debt that we have, the majority of it is owed to China. Who are we hurting? The government, the U.S. government sold us out to China a long time ago. That's why we owe all this money to China, right? So in order to do this right, we have to have things on the shelves that are made here. But American consumers have become used to getting things cheaply. And that is going to be the problem, right? So Chinese labor is cheap. Americans don't work for that same rate. Americans don't work for that same rate. So you have a lot of folks that say, made in America. We need things made in America. Absolutely. I love that, right? I want that. However, years ago, they outsourced everything, just about everything, to China, to Mexico, to different places. And so we would have to prepare. We would have to prepare many industries. Many things are not made in America at all. Like they're just not made here. So you have entire industries that do not have domestic production. And so it's easy for somebody to say, oh, get the American version. But there is no American version in many categories. So that's going to raise the price. But it's all right. It's all right. we're going to see that some people got to learn the easy way and some people got to learn the hard way. And unfortunately, America is going to have to learn the hard way. Now, Trump insists, of course, that other countries pay the tariffs. Now, it's like explaining something to a child. Initially, they're going to pay the tariff, right? But they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer so they get their money back. I don't understand why he thinks that the tariff just gets paid and that's the end of it. In fact, the American companies are going to pay for it. So if something is wholesale from China, the Chinese pay the tariff. They're going to put that into the price that the American companies pay. And then the American companies are going to pass that higher cost on to the consumers via higher prices. So at the end of the day, the customer, the Americans, us, are going to pay for the tariff. It's not really hard. So Scott Briggs on YouTube says that I researched back to the 80s. Reagan, after recession in 1982, he boosted production and had booming economy, but led to massive upping of the national debt, etc. later on. That is true. That is true. And you have to prepare for these things. Clean Cars Only on Instagram says that means that those industries that are not a reality can be a reality in the future. And for my sons, I want them to be business owners. This is great for Americans. This is great for American startups. Now, there is an opportunity for American startups, but we're talking about further down the line. We're talking about they're going to need to get distribution. They're going to need to be in stores. And if you have an American-made product on the shelf next to a Chinese-made product, or if it's online and the prices are comparable, then this will help them. But I don't know why folks don't understand greed, and that it's more to making a product than just making the product, right? You need the parts. You need all these different things that folks have become accustomed to getting from where? China. And so startups are going to need to get product or need to get items to make whatever it is that they're trying to sell. And there's still going to be, and for many years, there's going to be a connection to get those things from China. So whether you are getting parts from China, whether you're getting the whole item from China, whether you're getting the chip from China, whether you're getting, a circuit, a cord, a something, it's going to affect the price for a while. So this is not a quick fix. And this is a microwave generation. So when folks get in, the Trump train starts moving, and drill baby drill, and all that kind of stuff starts happening, and folks don't see a quick reaction and a quick effect on the price of things, they are going to get frustrated. And the midterms are coming in 2026. And we're going to start seeing folks getting frustrated with Republicans in 2 years. And then in 2 more years, it's going to be 2028. But that's fine. I think that it's great for us to try to have an idea of how to get more things made in America. But it is a process. And it did not start as simply as a tariff. And it's not going to end as simply as a tariff. Now, I think that making more things American made is great, but we have to, one, force these, major companies to, have their home offices and their manufacturing happening in America. That's what has to happen first. But what happened is there was incentives for folks to take the big companies, the big factories, and move them offshore. So you have to start at the top. And this is a process. This I don't know. This is probably a 15-year process. This is not an easy process. It's not a simple process. And Trump is selling I can fix it. Boom. No problem. I'm the only one. Quick. And it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be simple. It's going to be something that is very, very painful. The economic damage that this Trump mess is going to cause is likely going to spread globally. And like I said, in 2026, in the midterms, I am predicting a blue wave. The effects of this Trump madness. The deportations are going to rattle the U.S. job market. Trump has threatened to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, potentially undermining one of the factors that allowed the United States to tame inflation without falling into recession. So there's going to be an interesting, effect of things, right? The immigrants filled a gap. Over the past 4 years, 73% of those who entered the labor force were foreign born. So this is going to affect the deportation is going to affect a lot of things. The tariffs are going to affect a lot of things. At the end of the day, the Republicans and the American people are going to pay the price. Then the Republicans are going to pay the price in the midterms. Big tax cuts are going to swell the federal deficit. Trump has proposed extending the 2017 tax cuts for individuals that were set to expire after 2025, restoring the tax breaks for businesses that were being reduced. He has also called for ending taxes on Social Security benefits, overtime pay, and tips, as well as further reducing the corporate income tax rate for U.S. manufacturers. So there are goals that Trump has that in some instances are decent goals. But how he wants to go about them and the microwave strategy that he has is not going to achieve that goal. It's actually going to make things much worse. The federal budget, if folks did not know, the federal budget is already out of balance. Now, an aging population, baby boomers and the such, has required increased spending on Social Security and Medicare. And the past tax cuts have shrunk government revenue. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. Trump has little appetite for taking the necessary steps to cut Social Security and Medicare and tax increases or some combination of that is needed to bring the federal budget meaningfully closer to, here comes the B word, balance. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we have a lot of things going on. This second term is something that .com. So before we get out of here, I definitely wanted to talk about Trump versus Harris, fundraising. Harris outraised Trump by nearly 5-1 and raised over $1 billion. Where did that money go? What did they spend all that money on? The money is spent on advertising. That's what it is. It's spent on advertising. Ironically, the Harris campaign is still sending out fundraising requests. I got one to my phone, right, earlier today. And so she raised that money for the campaign. Ultimately, we know that it failed, the campaign. The afterglow of this stunning defeat has set in. Some folks are wondering now how she could have possibly spent anywhere near that amount of money and still lost her shot at the White House. Harris' campaign finished out the race with at least, according to reports, $20 million in the rears. owing $20 million. I don't understand. Like the amount of money is crazy. Crazy. So we're getting fundraising requests and money. They're moving money over here, money over there. And Kamala ain't the only one. The Trump campaign also did the same thing, meaning that all the money, what they're putting the money on, money's for this, money for that. And so Scott Briggs on YouTube says, I also don't know why they allegedly had record turnout, but not for the Dems. A lot of Dems did not vote. Absolutely. There's a whole lot of Democrats that just stayed home. They did not vote at all in many instances. A lot of college kids, you're absolutely right. Scott Briggs on YouTube says a lot of college kids sat out. Absolutely. The Harris campaign finished out the race with $20 million in debt, according to sources. Interesting. $1 billion Harris raised. Only $118 million remained in cash in October, and so they've been spreading money around. I mean, you get it, money come, easy go. So the realization that all of that spending ultimately accomplished very little, cost the party control of the White House, the Senate, maybe even the House. The finger pointing has been all over the place. I'm seeing numbers that Oprah was paid $1 million, maybe more. There's some concert. Beyonce paid a lot of money. A lot of folks. Now, people got to get paid. I don't want folks to think that Kid Rock doesn't get paid when he goes to the Trump stuff, right? Everybody needs to get paid. Everybody needs to get paid. So you got that. It's very clear that Kamala Harris ran an expensive campaign. She spent way more money than Donald Trump did. Because there's so many reports that Donald Trump didn't pay many things. Many places Donald Trump couldn't go because he owed money from the last time, right? So they're just throwing money around in some instances with Donald Trump not paying people. Right? Campaign spent on average $7.5 million a day in August in comparison to the $2.7 million that Trump spent. So y'all may be looking like we talking about prices and all this kind of stuff, and these campaigns are throwing around this kind of money. And where did the money come from? A very small amount came actually from the American people. Much money comes from PACs and because of Citizens United, outside dark money sources. Unfortunately for Kamala Harris and America, all that money did not seem to translate into enough votes. Did I already say that even though Harris lost, her campaign is still sending out fundraising requests? Yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy time. It's a lot of stuff going on. And, we have not even begun to unpack things. Trump has started naming names with folks who are going to be part of his campaign. We talked about his ICE border czar. Talked about that. Susie Wiles is going to be his chief of staff. She worked for the campaign, was campaign manager. Trump has asked Rep. Mike Waltz, a China Hawk, to be his national security advisor. Waltz is a 3-term Republican congressman from Florida who was the first Green Beret elected to the House. He easily won re-election last week. He has, Trump that is, has named former Rep. Lee Zeldin as the EPA head. Stephen Miller will be the deputy chief of policy. And he has chosen New York Rep. Elise Stefanik as the ambassador to the United Nations. Yes, he is rewarding the loyalist. He is rewarding the loyalist. No surprise here. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. Trump has put an emphasis on aides and allies who were his strongest backers during the 2024 campaign. And so it's going to be a lot of the key figures from his orbit. So I expect Linda McMahon to be somewhere in there. I do. He's going to return to the White House accompanied by his crew of longtime friends and aides, as well as some newfound folks. So we said Susie Wiles, of course, Lara Trump, both in business and in government. Trump has always kept relatives close in key positions. So Lara Trump is married to the president's middle son, Eric, and since the spring has been his handpicked choice to serve as the co-chair of the RNC. So Dana White from UFC fame, longtime friend. They go back over 20 years. So there were some UFC, Dana White held some UFC shows at Trump's Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City. Well, it's bankrupt now, but back then it wasn't bankrupt back then, but now it is. Anyway, Trump has appeared at UFC matches, and I expect that he's going to have some role in something. Dana White, interesting. So Linda McMahon, the wife of Vince McMahon, the WWE, formerly of WWE, the founder. She serves as the other co-chair of the president-elect's transition team. And obviously she's been a longtime friend of Donald Trump. And Vince McMahon might even get a role. Who knows? Howard Lutnick, he is a CEO of a financial services firm. And he is also involved in the transition team. So I think that he's going to have some type of a role. Boris Epshteyn, he is an attorney who has been coordinating Trump's various legal teams, and he's a long-term aide that goes back to 2016. He briefly served as an advisor in Trump's White House and an on-screen political analyst for Sinclair. So he's going to have some type of role. Of course, we talked about Stephen Miller and the role that he has. Elon Musk, somebody that I don't know, is an interesting thing, but one of the more powerful figures in Trump's orbit these days is the billionaire, head of Tesla and SpaceX and X. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we already know that he's going to be somewhere in that mix, and it equals out bad for Americans. He is an anti-vaccine activist and environmentalist. He's an attorney, and he was running for president too. It's kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. Brooke Rollins, another longtime associate, who is a potential hire for the incoming administration. She is Trump's former domestic policy chief, who served as president and CEO of America First Policy Institute. So these are folks that are in the Trump orbit, and these are folks that I expect to have a role in Trump's administration this second time. Going to be very interesting. Going to be very interesting. On YouTube, folks. Some folks are saying pack them up, ship them out. You said, all right, that's what's up. It is what it is. I've talked about this many times. It is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Threads, at the Diamond K Show, of course, on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, DJ Diamond K. And of course, on Patreon, you can support us, DJ Diamond K. So I'm going to get out of here. Of course, we have a mix coming. I'm going to go and hit the turntables, do that kind of thing. What's going on, Emmanuel? And lawmakers, so I do want to say this, lawmakers are prepared for the final lame duck sprint before they bring in the next Congress. So what does the lame duck mean? Folks that are on their way out the door, they can't really do too much. They're on their way out the door. You got many folks like that. But keeping the federal government open, providing more disaster aid, passing a defense policy bill, and confirming more judges. I think all of that's going to be hard. All of that is going to be difficult for folks. So hopefully we don't have any disasters or anything like that anytime soon, because the lame duck is one of those things. You don't want to be the lame duck. Don't want to be the lame duck. Quick bit of local news. A shooting near a high school in East Baltimore leaves a student in critical condition. So a Dunbar High School student shot outside today. 15-year-old student is in critical condition after he was shot multiple times in East Baltimore today. Shooting occurred before 3:30 p.m. on North Caroline Street near the National Academy Foundation. The victim was transported to an area hospital and underwent surgery. And so hopefully that works out. Goodness gracious. Police have also identified a man that was shot on BW Parkway Thursday morning. Police officers said that they were called at 8:41 a.m. to the southbound lane of the Parkway at Annapolis Road, where Isaiah Shackelford was found suffering from a severe gunshot wound. Today, Shackelford's family said that he had passed away. The family said that he was heading home after work during DoorDash, and he was shot. Police said that Shackelford was driving his gray 2017 Mazda 3 on South Monroe Street toward the BW Parkway ramp before he was found at the Parkway Annapolis Road exit. Police have not released any further information about that young man. So a couple other things to get through. Teens have been charged with the fatal shooting in the Columbia, if you remember that debacle that happened, deadly shooting in October. So they're expected to be in court tomorrow. And Tracy Parker, 17, and a 14-year-old are charged in connection with the killing of a 26-year-old, Kendrick McLean. Investigators said that McLean was found shot to death in a car on Central Park Drive the morning of October the 12th. And so these students, the Howard County public school system did not know, they said, of the past of the student. The board said that they would not have allowed Parker, the 17-year-old, to attend the school if they knew his record. How is it that the school doesn't know the record? How is it that the school doesn't know the record? All right. So you have this student in the school. There was already, drama. Parker, the student, the 17-year-old, Tracy Parker, arrested at Howard High School where he was a student, had a loaded handgun in his backpack, retrofitted to work as a machine gun. This is a 17-year-old. My Lord. 17 years old. So you got that going on. DPW calls for safety meeting after the death of the solid waste worker. You remember that. We talked about that extensively. The Baltimore City DPW worker who died after the garbage truck pinned him against a wooden pole on Friday. That was crazy. So Timothy Cartwell was the DPW worker assigned working at that station. And so there have been new details revealed about the death of this gentleman, which comes as the department is facing scrutiny for the death over the summer of another employee. So now they want to have some type of a safety meeting about that. Cartwell suffered fatal injuries while collecting trash in the alley of 1800 Baker Street. He was taken to shock trauma and later died. So we definitely need some safety over there. I don't know what's going on over there. DPW under a lot of heat, and that is the Department of Public Works. Department of Public Works. A lot going on there. FBI is investigating bomb threats made to several Maryland Board of Election sites. So the FBI is investigating this after these bomb threats came on Friday, along with election offices in 2 other states. So Maryland is saying that the bomb threats were sent to 17 of the 24 county municipal election offices as mail-in ballots were being counted. All the buildings were evacuated with nothing found and no one hurt. FBI is investigating the threats in Maryland, as well as election offices in New York and Oregon. So they're saying that they have zero tolerance for threats against our election officials. This madness must stop. We are working with law enforcement and federal partners on the latest incidents. Nothing will deter us from our mission. This is unacceptable, they said. This is unacceptable, which it is. It is. I don't know why we have folks making these type of a threat. It is. I mean, you already won. All right. Yes, I'm saying that these are Trump supporters. I mean, you already won the race, right? There's no need to make these type of threats. And lastly, Biden and Harris, who I believe are feuding. Biden and Harris. Their camps are feuding. The folks are feuding, pointing fingers at each other. Biden and Harris appeared together for the first time since her election loss to Trump. Today, they made this joint appearance as they observed Veterans Day. Together, they laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. Biden honored the service and sacrifice of America's military veterans, including those who paid the ultimate price and their families during what was his final time speaking at the cemetery's Memorial Amphitheater in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the military. So, all right. So that is their. They're not going to be together too much longer. That's for sure. And they may pass Christmas cards, maybe not. I don't know, but I know that they're not happy with each other. And how could they be? How could they be? On a sad note, and we've said a few sad things today. But Mary Pat Clark, the first woman elected as Baltimore City Council president, passed away at the age of 83. And the former Baltimore City Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark passing yesterday. She had an amazing legacy. She had a lot of personal relationships with many folks in the city of Baltimore. So she was first elected to represent the 2nd District from 1975 to 1983 before her election as the council's president from 1987 to 1995. Mary Pat Clark sat on numerous committees, including labor, budget, appropriations, judiciary, legislative, investigations, just to name a few. Her tenure of representing the 14th District began in 2004 before her retirement in 2020. Clark's leadership had an impact on many city leaders throughout, just throughout. Folks sending well wishes and just remembering her. A lot of the mayor had thoughts, and the current the incoming city council president, Zeke Cohen, giving his thoughts as well. So just a lot of folks with positive things to say about Mary Pat Clark. She is survived by 4 children, 10 grandchildren, and she was born in Providence, Rhode Island back in 1941. So that's she put in work. She lived a full life, and definitely the citizens of Baltimore will remember her fondly. Of course, I will be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. After this, like I said, we're dropping a mix, Baltimore Club mix. Me in the mix. DJ Diamond K, yours truly. I will be back here tomorrow, of course. You can always hit me up, djdiamondk, gmail.com. On all social media, I am at The Diamond K Show. See you guys tomorrow.